everyone, Miss Laura here with the South Carolina State Museum in Columbia, South Carolina. Thanks so much for joining me for this month's Crafty Jammies. This month we are reading We Don't Eat Our Classmates with Penelope the Dinosaur. She's a favorite in my house because we have a Penelope. Crafty Jammies are the second Tuesday of every month, and if you haven't done one with us before, we do a craft, we read with a storybook character, and then we read the story again, but we look at the pictures so that you can follow along. Again, they're the second Tuesday of every month at 6:30 p.m. Thank you to all of our members for your continued support. It's been almost 2 years and you're still hanging in there with us, even though things are a little tough out there and we're all still trying to make our way through. We really cannot thank you enough for your continued support. I also want to thank all of you that might be watching this on record or are watching it on Facebook or YouTube. Thank you so much for just taking time out of your day and joining us. It really means a lot, and just viewing actually supports us in a whole lot of ways that you might not even realize. So thank everyone for being here. Thank you so much for doing this. We do try to keep these to close to 30 minutes if we can, so I don't want to take up too much time. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and switch to the craft, which is a 3D pumpkin. Hey everybody, Miss Laura here with the South Carolina State Museum. I'm here to show you how to make a 3D pumpkin, just like this. Now, whenever we do something like this for accessibility night, we try to keep it very simple, and we try to avoid glue or anything too sticky if we can. So we did make this with all tape, but you can glue it if you need to. So let's check it out and see what you need to get started. So the very first thing you are going to need is paper. We need some paper. Now, I already have orange strips of paper cut, and I just cut them out of orange cardstock that I had laying around. And then if you want to give your pumpkin a leaf, you're going to need some green paper. And if you want to give it a stem, you are going to need some brown paper. Now, I happened to not have brown paper, but I did have white paper and a brown crayon. So I went ahead and just colored a little strip of brown right there. And you can do the same thing for the rest of it. If you don't have orange, if you don't have green, if you have plain white paper, you can make this happen. The other thing you're going to need, and I'm going to steal it from my other one really quick, is a paper towel or toilet paper tube, or just a craft tube, because you're going to need to provide some support to your pumpkin. And let me show you what I mean. If I take out the tube from this pumpkin, it gets a little squishy. It's actually really fun because it bounces a lot, so you do not have to have one. It's okay if you don't have one of these little tubes. It's absolutely fine, but it'll provide some support for your little pumpkin from bouncing around a little too much, even though I think that's really fun. So you're going to need a tube as well, okay? The first thing I do is I start working on building my pumpkin, which means you need to cut several strips of paper. You can make a very short, small pumpkin if you cut like this, or you can make a taller pumpkin if you cut like this. This pumpkin that you see me have here, this is made with long strips, so cut vertically like that. So through the magic of presentation, I already have some strips pre-cut, so I'm going to move this off to the side. I'm going to move this up, and I'm going to show you how to put it together with my tape. So the very first thing I did was I just kind of started making a star formation out of them. And I taped them together every time just to kind of keep things a little simpler. So I make a little plus right here, and I put a little tape down to keep those together. Then I'm going to add another strip like this, and I'm going to tape that down as well. Ta-da! And you're going to keep going around as many times as you want to. Now you can keep it pretty simple, and that's what we're going to do here. We're going to make a very simple one and tape that one down. So this only took 1, 2, 3 strips to make this particular pumpkin. And this one is a little bit smaller than my other one. So what I'm going to do now is fold these or round them just like this and bring them up into a circular shape. And again, I'm just going to tape them down or tape them together. Just do a little bit of an overhang like that and tape them together. And you have, the thicker the paper you use, the more your pumpkin base is going to be able to stand, and you might not need that craft tube after all. There we go. And so now that I have my first loop, I'm just going to start taping the other ones to the center and looping them around. I like to start with the crossbars first, just to kind of give it more rigidity and the ability for it to stand on its own a little bit more. And then I'll do the alternate ones after that. So I'm going to tape these down. So these are the ones that were, these are the ones that were opposite of each other. I did those first. Now I'm going to do the extra ones that came from the side. Here's one right here. Okay. And like I said, you can use glue if you have it. It might just take you a little bit longer to finish it out and get it done because glue takes a little time to dry. But if you don't have tape, it's okay. That's what we call getting creative and trying to figure out how to make it work. And that's always great. Whenever you troubleshoot, that's always awesome. And let's do our last little bit right here. There we go. Yay! Perfect. Now what I happened to use this time was cardstock. So this one actually stays up pretty well on its own. I don't have to do a whole lot. If I look at the front view, you see right here, this one is not quite as bouncy as this one. Now this is just orange computer paper, really thin paper. This one is orange cardstock, which is a little bit thicker than construction paper. So that's the other option you have. So you can experiment and play with different types of paper to see what kind of pumpkin they give you and how rigid it is. These I also made slightly differently, and I'll show you how I made this to make it an even bigger pumpkin, okay? But this is kind of just a little mini pumpkin that I've got going on here. Let me show you how to make the stem and the leaf. So I don't really need this craft paper tube for this one because my paper is so nice and sturdy, so I'm going to put it over here off to the side. Now, in order to make my stem, and my stem I want it to be brown, but remember, you can make yours any color. You don't have to have an orange pumpkin. You could have a purple or a pink one. And then you just kind of make whatever colors you want from anything else. So I wanted a brown stem. And if you look at the one that I've made here, I've got it kind of swirling around itself a little bit. Okay, and there's a very simple way I did that. I took some brown paper, and again, I don't have brown, so I just colored some white paper with my brown crayon on each side. And I only need a little strip, so I didn't do a whole lot. And I'm not going to cut it straight across like that. I'm going to cut it down at an angle. And that's going to give me the swirl that you see at the very top. So look at that angle that I just cut, okay? It's like a big old hill. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll the wide end in and let the smaller end stay on the outside. So I'm just going to roll it around like that. Now I'm not flattening it. You can still see it's hollow on the inside. I'm just going to roll it around. And as I do that, I'm going to start getting layers to it. And at the very end, I will just tape it down. Now, if you make yours this small and you're like, oh man, I want something bigger, just loosen it up a little bit like this, untwist it, and you'll start to get a bigger stem. Okay, if you want it smaller, just tighten it up a little bit. So don't worry about taping it until you've got it the size that you want it to be. So there we go. I'm just going to tape it right there. I'm just going to tape the end down. Ta-da! And now the very last thing I need to do is make my leaf. Now, if you've ever done anything with me before, you know I tend to freehand a lot of stuff, but if you're not a freehand person, you can absolutely draw yours out. A leaf is pretty simple in shape. You kind of do a little swoopy thing like this, okay? I've got a little swoop just like this. I'll make it a little darker so you can see better on camera. So I've got a little kind of backward S shape, so just a swoop. And then you curve down and around like that. There you go. And you can add a little bit more, give a little bit more character if you want to, like that. All right, and then we're going to cut out our leaf, and we are going to tape it to our pumpkin. If you don't like anything and you're using tape, guess what? It is not too difficult to simply grab the tape and untape it if you need to. Very, very simple. Lots of ways to make this happen. You can use lots of different types of paper and come up with lots of different pumpkins. If you do not want to make the stem, you don't have to. You can simply put your leaf on just like that. If you don't want to make the leaf and you only want the stem, you are welcome to do that as well. This is your pumpkin and you are welcome to make it any way you want. So now we have the three major parts of my pumpkin. We have the pumpkin here, we have the stem, and we have my little leaf. So now all we have to do is tape everything onto the pumpkin or glue it or adhere it any way you are going to. So the first thing I'm going to do is put a little bit on my stem like that and kind of create a little tab down here. And then put that on my pumpkin wherever I want it. Get my finger through this little hole right here and press down, add a little bit of pressure. I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. Kind of create a little tab on the outside and stand up and have it sit on my pumpkin as I want it to. Now the plus side, if you're one of the folks using glue, is that you don't see all the tape, which is it makes it a little bit prettier. But on the plus side, if you are using tape, it goes a little bit faster. So now all I got to do is add my leaf, and I think I want my leaf right here. So I'm going to kind of eyeball it and place it where I want it, and then I'm just going to stick some tape down and get it to stay. Ta-da! Now I have a little bitty pumpkin made out of paper, and that's it. So this is cardstock, which is why it's so firm and it's holding its shape really well. This is just construction paper, and it's white construction paper that I colored brown because I didn't have any brown. And this is green construction paper. I drew out the shape of my leaf and cut it out. So that is one option. The other thing you can do is just use regular paper, but like I said, you're gonna have to give it some sort of rigidity in the center. So what we did is we took a craft tube or a toilet paper tube or something like that, and we taped it in the middle. And when you do that, it kind of gives some rigidity to it, gives it a center pole so that it stands up really nice and straight and tall, and it's not bouncing anymore. However, if you think it's just really funny to have a bouncing pumpkin, you are welcome to have a silly, goofy, bouncing pumpkin. Let me show you a really quick way to make your pumpkin a whole lot bigger and a little bit more like this size, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our strips of orange, but instead of just crossing them like this, what we're going to do is make them very long and tape them together like that and make very, very long strips, okay? Very, very long strip. And I'm gonna do the same thing over here. I'm gonna put one on top, and I'm gonna put another one pointing down. So what I've done is I've just doubled the size of my pumpkin. And that's how you get the really big pumpkin that I had before. Here's the catch to this. When we made this little pumpkin, all we did was we stuck these here and these here. We can't do that this time. There's not going to be enough to stabilize it. So what we have to do this time is we have to add even more. So I would add these two right here, and I would add these two right here just like I did before. But in addition to doing that, I would also put one here, 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 I'll need this tape, here, and here. So you can see what I'm talking about. I have to add another layer to it if I'm going to space it out like that. Now, of course, you don't have to. You can always experiment with it and see what you can do. But this is essentially what you're going to do. You're going to tape all of those down, and you're going to have this big old giant wheel going on. And you're going to do the exact same thing we did before. You're going to fold all of them up and attach them in the middle, just like we did here. So it's just a bigger version. Same thing with the stem, same thing with the leaf. You're just going to figure out what shape you want, cut it out, and put it together. So that is how you make a pumpkin more of this size, a really, really big pumpkin. Even with the cardstock, when a pumpkin starts to get that big, you might still need something in the middle of it to help it hold up. But those are your two options. That's kind of how they work. Again, two different types of paper, two different styles of pumpkin, a little small one, a really big one. Experiment, see what you come up with, and let us see it. Make sure you post it, Tag us in it. We love to see what you're doing, and we can't see what you do for the holidays as well. Have a very, very happy day, and we can't wait to see you soon here at the South Carolina State Museum. Thanks so much, y'all. Bye. All right, if you are not done with your pumpkin, that is okay. Keep on going while we read our story with Penelope the Dinosaur. I want to thank Tamia for taking on this challenge. We actually filmed in one of the exhibits this time, which is very different for us. So something a little bit different that we're trying out, and I think it turned out pretty well. So here we go. Here's our reading with Penelope the Dinosaur.
We Don't Eat Our Classmates by Ryan T. Higgins. Penelope Rex was nervous. It's not every day a little T-Rex starts school. What are my classmates going to be like? Will they be nice? How many teeth will they have? This was very important. Penelope's mom bought her a new backpack with ponies on it. Ponies were Penelope's favorite because ponies are delicious. Penelope's dad packed her a lunch of 300 tuna sandwiches and 1 apple juice. Finally, the big day came, and Penelope Rex was very surprised to find out that all of her classmates were children. So she ate them, because children are delicious. Penelope Rex, said Miss Noodleman, we don't eat our classmates. Please spit them out at once. So she did. It was not the best way to start school. Still, Penelope was determined to have a good first day. She tried hard to make friends at recess. She finger painted some of her best work. She even saved Griffin Emery a seat at lunch. You can sit here. Penelope started to notice everyone was making friends but her. It was lonely. When she got home, her dad asked her about her first day of school. I didn't make any friends, Penelope cried. None of the children wanted to play with me. Penelope Rex, her father asked, did you eat your classmates? Well, maybe, sort of, just a little bit. Sometimes it's hard to make friends, said her dad, especially if you eat them. You see, Penelope, children are the same as us on the inside, just tastier. That gave Penelope a lot to think about. The next day, Penelope tried really hard, but poor Penelope, she could not stop herself from eating her classmates. Miss Noodleman, Penelope ate William Amato again, and they were all afraid of her, except Walter. Walter was a goldfish, so Penelope tried to make friends with him. Will you be my friend? Chomp! Eee! Cried Penelope. He's eating my finger. Wah! Once Penelope found out what it was like to be someone's snack, she lost her appetite for children. She stopped eating her classmates, even when Cece Woodman spilled barbecue sauce all over herself. And soon, Penelope made friends. Found ya! Want a brownie? I helped make them. Now, even when children look especially delicious, she peeks at Walter and remember what it's like when someone tries to eat you. And Walter, the goldfish, stares right back at her and licks his lips because dinosaurs are delicious.
All right, I absolutely love filming on location. I think we're gonna start doing that from now on. That was a lot of fun and we have a ton of exhibits we can shoot in, so I think that's gonna be our preferred way of doing that from now on. I hope you enjoyed Tamia and Penelope reading you her story. The very last thing we're going to do is read the story one more time, but looking down at the pictures so that you can follow along. So here we go. We Don't Eat Our Classmates by Ryan T. Higgins. We don't eat our classmates. Hey kids, you will never be eaten by a T-Rex. They are extinct, I promise. Penelope Rex was nervous. It's not every day a little T-Rex starts school. What are my classmates going to be like? Will they be nice? How many teeth will they have? This was very important. Penelope's mom bought her a new backpack with ponies on it. Ponies were Penelope's favorite because ponies are delicious. Penelope's dad packed her a lunch of 300 tuna sandwiches and 1 apple juice. Finally, the big day came, and Penelope Rex was very surprised to find out that all of her classmates were children! So she ate them, because children are delicious. Penelope Rex, said Mrs. Noodleman, we don't eat our classmates. Please spit them out at once. So she did. It was not the best way to start school. Still, Penelope was determined to have a good first day. She tried hard to make friends at recess. She finger painted some of her best work. She even saved Griffin Emery a seat at lunch. You can sit here. Penelope started to notice everyone was making friends but her. It was lonely. When she got home, her dad asked about her first day of school. I didn't make any friends, Penelope cried. None of the children wanted to play with me.
Penelope Rex,
Her father asked.
did you eat your classmates?
Well, maybe sort of just a little bit.
Sometimes it's hard to make friends,
Said her dad.
especially if you eat them. You see, Penelope, children are just the same as us on the inside, just tastier.
That gave Penelope a lot to think about. The next day, Penelope tried really hard. But poor Penelope, she could not stop herself from eating her classmates. Mrs. Noodleman, Penelope ate William Amoto again. And they were all afraid of her. Except Walter. Walter was a goldfish. So Penelope tried to make friends with him. Will you be my friend? Eee! Cried Penelope. He's eating my finger! Wah! Once Penelope found out what it was like to be someone's snack, she lost her appetite for children. She stopped eating her classmates, even when Cece Woodman spilled barbecue sauce all over herself. And soon Penelope made friends. Who fed you? Want a brownie? I helped make them. Now, even when children look especially delicious, she peeks at Walter and remembers what it's like when someone tries to eat you. And Walter, the goldfish, stares right back at her and licks his lips. Because dinosaurs are delicious. And that's it for us. Thanks so much for joining us for this month's Crafty Jammies. We hope to see you again next month.